What it do, what it is, and what it will be. This your boy Mike Forrest, actor, writer, director, and you are watching the FanView Live podcast.
Welcome everybody to FanView Live. Another host of the podcast, Coach Hurricane Hen, with my dog, one of my best friends. Introduce yourself, big homie.
Actor, writer, director, Mike Forrest. Me and my man's right here go back like crayons, color paper, and construction paper.
Hey,
We go back, man. I'm happy to be here, bro. For
man,
real.
it's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure, man. Y'all know what it is, man. FanView Live the podcast, man. Y'all can follow us on FanView Live on Instagram, FanView Live on Facebook, FanView Podcast, and on our TikTok page. And make sure y'all like and subscribe our YouTube page as well. But without further ado, man, we're gonna get into it, man. Look, man, we like to start our podcast off by asking our hosts and our about the journey that you took going to where you started to where you at right now.
Man, it's been a journey. I've been an actor for professionally for 4 years, and you know you know better than most people that me quoting movie lines in class in high school. I didn't know that was acting. So I basically been an actor since high school. I just didn't know it.
Well, I should give you some credits for that too, man.
I mean, for real. Singing songs. I remember you and I used to sing Louis Armstrong songs in class.
Man, hey,
I didn't know that was acting, bro. I really didn't. I thought it was just us cracking jokes, having a good time, man. It wasn't until 4 years ago where I was coming up on the end of my military contract, and I was looking for a 9 to 5 job, and I found one, and it was cool. But I was browsing on Facebook, and I came across a very wonderful lady by the name of Tommy Myrick that gave me a chance with a stage play in New Orleans called "A Raisin in the Sun."
Yes, sir.
And it was, I call it divine intervention, because I've never taken any professional acting classes. I've never, I don't have any formal training. Like, it's just, a God-given gift. And I was in the right place at the right time. And this wonderful lady says, "Michael, read this script." And I went from being not known as an actor to I'm on a stage with some of the top actors in the city of New Orleans. And it was an amazing transition. It was difficult. The journey, the training that's required to be a stage play actor. A lot of people don't understand that being on the stage, there's no cut. There's no, "Hey, can we do that again?" It's either you do it right or it goes wrong very fast.
One shot.
One shot. I look at it like a rap cipher, a freestyle cipher. Either you gonna spit some high bars, or they gonna boo you off the stage. And I'm still spitting. I'm still spitting right now, man. It's a crazy journey, but I love it, man. I wouldn't trade it for the world at all.
Now, some of our people might look and who's been following our show for a long time, like, man, y'all do sports. Y'all do sports. What is an actor doing on here? And for people who don't know, Mike played basketball his whole career. I'm talking about since we was five.
Yeah.
Since we was five, Mike played basketball, and he was real good. And you actually turned down a scholarship
I did.
to go serve in the Army.
Yeah, I had a when I read a scholarship. I really excelled at ROTC. I did ROTC all 4 years, and senior year, I didn't attract as much attention as I wanted to from basketball scouts, but the right person came to the right game, and they asked me would I be interested in playing basketball at the Air Force Academy, as well as a school called the Citadel, which is on the East Coast. And it was an opportunity of a lifetime. But myself, I made the decision to go and live the regular college life and not pursue my military career at the time. But basketball has always been my love and my first love. This is what me and my man's right here actually first bonded. Playing bitty basketball for the parks, and then we would just discuss some of the top players in the city, who was gonna make the JPRD All Stars and things like that. That's how it started. But being that transitioned very well to being an actor because when you're on set, you're expected to be professional, but you also are expected to perform at your very, very best. And once those curtains go up and those lights come on, it's like stepping on the court. Let's get it. Either you're the leader or you are a role player. And the way that a stage play is set up, it takes more than just one person. Unless it's a one man show that's sitting on stage doing this one thing by itself. There's moving pieces to a stage play production. You have to move a certain way. You have to say things a certain way. It's just like running a play on the basketball court or being on the football field and the coach draws up a play. Do it like this. Run the play this way. And as an actor, they call it this is your blocking. Mm-hmm. When you're going to step this way, step forward, or you're going to do what naturally comes to you as an actor to portray this character. And, it transitioned very well. Being a leader, you have to know how to encourage others around you to be the best actor they can be, because some people feel as though he's an actor. Stage fright is a real thing, even to some of your favorite actors or actresses. Stage fright or drawing a blank on stage or in front of a camera, it happens. That's why you see those cut scenes at the end of sitcoms when they roll in the credits where the actor might get tongue tied and they have to say cut, do it again. That happens. But at the end of the day, you have to step up and know your role as a character and as an actor, and just keep the ball moving.
Now, I'm about to drop a name on you.
All right.
I'm about to drop a name on you because I've been coaching now for like the last 15 years.
Yes, sir.
And
long time coming.
And I ran into Coach Collins.
Oh man.
I ran into Coach Collins, and he recognized me before I even recognized him, and he said the line that every one of Jack's former players hated to hear. Get in line, assume the position. I'm like, oh. Get on the line. I was like, where he at? Where he at? Then he just started laughing, and then he talked to some of my players, and one of the names he brought up was yours.
Yeah.
And it was shocking to me. Not saying because I've talked like this is. For those who know, this is the man that was like scheming behind the legendary Coach Jack, that put a lineup out of Albert Weber,
yes, indeed,
Ryan Alexander, Jason Williams, had Damone coming off the bench with Skyland and Jazz.
Skyland, Jazz, Ryan. We had
Nate,
our team was so stacked.
Like
Nate, Travis.
That's when me and George came out for football and all that stuff. And
George Baptiste.
He told he's like, I had to have that honest conversation with y'all coach because he was 6'5". He played the 5 for us, and nobody was stronger than him.
Right.
But in 6'5" in basketball, he's a point guard. And I was like, I can't. And then he's like, and that's what he wasn't gonna do. He wasn't gonna dribble. He said, but I had to make that honest conversation when he was coming off injury football. Like, hey, this is a special year for you in football. You need to draw everything in that. And he said I had to have a conversation with Mike Forrest.
Oh, yeah.
And it shocked me. He's like, man, look, you're gonna have to fill the role that Henry is not gonna fill no more. But I need you to do that much more and better. And you excelled. And that was the year that, like, for the first time in our history, that we went to the top 28.
That was junior year.
Yeah.
I remember that. Our team was so stacked. Playing for Al Collins, as well as Marshall Jackson, it was definitely an experience that I'll never forget. Shout out to all my brothers who actually, played on that team with me all 4 of those years. We were more than just a team. We were a fraternity, literally. We had good cop and bad cop in the locker room with Coach Jackson and Al Collins. Coach Collins was a character to say the least, but he pushed us to excel. And I remember many games we were down 10 plus at halftime, and then he's going to come in there and rip us a new one, and then we go out, we win by 10, 15,
Yeah.
just because of the motivation, the motivation that we received from Coach Collins. I was happy that he was able to transition from an assistant at Higgins to being a state champion at John Ehret. I like to joke with a lot of players that know him, and who's seen Hurricane Season, the movie.
Yeah.
And I like to laugh about it. It was like, they always ask, is Coach Collins really like that? I was like, no, no,
not
No.
in the. He is not. He is not Forrest Whitaker.
that is not a man you want to upset.
Hey, but the funny thing is, they both had the lazy eye. I was like, how could you? When they cast it for Hurricane Season,
Perfect casting.
and when they was like, Forrest Whitaker is gonna be the coach, I was like, that's fucked up on so many levels. Cause like, damn, like it's perfect. It's perfect on all the levels. So I was like, Jesus.
My thing is, the whole movie, I was arguing, when has Al Collins ever been that calm at practice? When? Like, this man was literally like a black Bobby Knight, but it worked out for the best of us. It molded him as a coach, and it also molded us as players and as men as well. There were a lot of life lessons and a lot of great conversations that Coach Collins and Coach Jackson would have with us, as far as not just on a sports level, but as young men growing up and coming into the world. Still to this day, I still remember a conversation that myself and Coach Jackson had the day of graduation.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing he would say to me before he would put me in the game. He'd look at me and say, "Hey, no mistakes." That carried over to me when I started acting, because I was so anal about remembering my lines.
Mm-hmm.
Don't fumble no lines. Don't get tongue twisted. And when I get excited, any of my friends will tell you, my mouth can go 100 miles a minute when I'm in a really good mood or having a good time. And when you become really skilled at your craft, it can carry over really well. You hear the lines in your head, and you can feel the scene, but you're talking so fast that no one can understand what you're saying. And it's the same as being on the court. When the coach yells out a play, don't run the play too fast. Stand there, hold that pick, stay on that post, stay still. Sometimes it's best to stay still instead of keep moving. And even the lessons of Coach Collins, his favorite quote to me was always, "Forrest, only you can prevent forest fires."
Yeah.
No matter what. And that's when I knew it took me a while to understand, but I knew that his message within that was, you are your own worst enemy.
Yeah.
And it took me until after I graduated to understand that only you can prevent forest fires, because I was extremely talented, just like my man's next to me. We excelled at sports at a very early age, and it was hard to hold on to one sport that you wanted to pursue. Like, we all wanted to be Deion Sanders. We all wanted to play football, basketball, track, baseball. We wanted to be out there for everything. But, once you got to high school, it got to a point where, okay, we have to make some decisions.
Yeah.
Make some decisions. And I made the decision to transition from not only, sports, but also the military into acting. And playing and working on a team level as an actor, as well as being on sports teams, it helps with teamwork and camaraderie when you're on set with someone or some other actors who you've never met. But if everybody's skill level is somewhat the same and everybody's there for the same specific purpose, everything's going to work out. Everything.
Now I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Okay.
We both had the opportunity to play with and against some of the best basketball players in our era, in our generation.
Yes, indeed.
Especially
Legends.
for the state.
Legends.
Who's the best?
Football, basketball.
Basketball. We're gonna stay basketball. I just want to see if your answer gonna match up with my answer.
Some of the best ballers I've ever seen or stepped on the court with. And I'm gonna quote Al Collins. Albert Weber.
Yes.
Albert Weber was, and I quote, Coach Collins,
the best
the best ineligible player in the state of Louisiana. The best ineligible player in the state of Louisiana. This man was so dominant. He in my eyes he was a high school version of Tracy McGrady. I was 6 foot playing the 5 spot for my team, and Albert Weber was what 6'4", 6'5". No, he was about 6. He was 6'6".
He was 6'6". He was 6'6". He was a good because I'm 6'5", and Jason is 6'7".
Yes,
and Weber was like it was like if we stood next to each other, it was like a step.
He was a high school cheat code, and he would just run the baseline and catch a lob literally over my head, and he would be laughing the entire time.
Yes,
laughing. He was smiling. It's something about West Bank athletes. We just think when we make a play, it's the funniest thing ever.
Here we go.
There's no screaming. There's no emotion. There's not that. It's just laughing. And I didn't know how serious it was until I started following Alfred Payton's career. Shout out to Alfred Payton. I remember seeing him play at UL, and he would be crossing somebody up on court and me smiling the whole time. I mean, just can't catch me. I'm like, wow, how does he do that? But I love the fact that the confidence that players from around here have, because we know we have competed against some of the best. Not just in Louisiana or in the city of New Orleans, but in the country. We came up watching people like Skylar Green and Marlon Favorite, who have both had great respective NFL careers. Like, we remember when they were playing high school. Basketball players. Albert Weber was amazing. I feel like if Albert Weber would have stayed an extra year at Higgins, we would have won another state. We would have won a state title.
It wasn't even close.
We would have won a state title. Jason Williams.
It would have been him with Milo,
Jason. That's one thing about my team. Like, some people may say, "Oh, back then if you weren't starting, you weren't shit." But no, in reality, that era of L.W. Higgins athletics was so stacked. It was so stacked. We could change starting fives every game and change it up. Let's see. I'm gonna say top five. Albert Weber, Jason Williams. I was a big fan of Derek Burdett. I was a big fan of Derek Burdett.
Okay.
Ryan Alexander.
Probably like the purest point guard.
Pure point guard.
Like I think the thing that Duke doesn't get enough credit about is when you compare it to basketball today. He wasn't the scoring point guard, but
no,
if Jack ever let him off his leash, watch out.
Oh man, Ryan,
watch out. His
pull up jumper was almost unstoppable, and his ball handling skills were. There were very few guards in this city at the time that could contain him. Last one, and it's a sleeper. Some people gonna agree with me, but if anybody who's seen him play is gonna agree completely. Deshaun Jordan.
It's no sleeper, man. Look,
Deshaun Jordan was.
People forget that I talk about him on the show all. He was ranked the number 1 player in the nation at one point.
Yes, when we were 12 years old, when we were 12 and Deshaun was Mr. Biddy, he was the first player I knew that I felt like could go toe to toe with Ryan, and maybe a little bit better than Ryan, because he had a little bit more height, and his leaping ability was.
He was the first person in our because we all graduated together.
Mm-hmm.
He was the first person in our group that dunked.
He was starting varsity as a freshman,
and I was like,
he was another one. He was another one. Like, man, just stay, just don't transfer, just stay. If he'd have stayed at Higgins, bro, we'd have won a state championship.
I remember religiously. This was our last year playing. It was our second of the actually playing park ball.
All right.
This is when I left.
11 years old. Yeah.
This is when I left and went to party. You just knew I was coming to Nicholson.
Yeah, man. You sold me out, man. I need another big man, man.
Hey, I felt like LeBron James. I'm taking my talent to everybody. Like, where you going? To party.
Yeah,
not the Hawks.
What you mean, man?
Not the Hawks. And we was rolling, but when we played the hardest game when we played MLK, and people around here know, I'm from the back of Ames. Down the street from me stayed Skylar Moss and
Yes.
Deshaun
Deshaun Jordan.
not Deshaun Jordan ah man I'm drawing up Deshaun. What's Deshaun last name?
Cap? Not Cap. No, Cap play football.
D, man, D, he passed. He got killed a couple of years ago. D Money,
Oh, Damone?
Damone,
D-Money. Damone Bennett. Damone Bennett.
So Damone and Scholar stayed down the street for us. Jared Howard,
Right the corner.
is an age below,
Yeah, under us.
so he couldn't help that part team with me.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a trail. I had a trail manager. I'm like, okay, we good. And then these MLK just rolled out Skyland, who's supposed to be at Pard.
Yeah, MLK.
Damone, who's supposed to be at Pard. Deshaun, who's supposed to be at Pard. And I'm like, what is going on here?
Nobody wanted to come
What
to
is going on here?
It was me and Mark Jackson.
you, Martin, and Craig was just strictly track and football.
Right, track and football.
But he gave y'all hype on
no parts of basketball, man.
But it was like, it was the first fast break of the game, and Deshaun took off.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, layup, and he dunked it, and the referee just like, cause like it's no dunking the video. And he just like hopped around. I was like, ooh, we in for one today. But y'all know me. I patted my game behind Shaq, and they ain't have a big man. I hit it with the boom boom.
See, you had the height. See, I had the moves, but I ain't had the height. See, when we played y'all, it was like, oh man,
here we
I
go.
gotta go toe to toe with my dog, and I know he gonna block every shot I put up.
And we was gonna run.
Oh man, what was gonna run? Oh man, that was the game down here. The game was speed. It wasn't power or skill. It was speed. If you could run up and down the court, you had a winning team.
Favorite moment, and it just came to me, my basketball playing career. And you was the one that pointed out. We thought you was lying. We was playing Kennedy at Higgins, and you just came in the locker room. I was like, man, what's wrong with you? They're like, man, Henry, get your boy. I'm like, man, I don't know. Man, Ray, get your boy, man. Man, Mike, what's wrong? Boy, the big timers out there. Boy, it was like, stop lying. It was like, stop lying.
I was losing it, bro. I was like, man, the big timers thing. And everybody know back then I was the hugest fan of Baby and Manny Fresh. Mr. Birdman, please call me for Baller Blocking 2. Thank you. We'll plug that in right now. Call me for Baller Blocking 2, big homie. But no, it was a great game. Playing
that Kennedy team,
and that Kennedy team was stacked. They had like 3 players that were going to college on basketball scholarships. They were like Lob City of New Orleans at the time. Like, it was crazy. Back in our era, that's when Bo Lester was playing for O. Perry Walker, and he was a phenom all on his own.
Danny Granger was playing at was it Abe?
Danny Granger was at Aberson.
Sheesh.
Danny Granger, hell, his car, he a 99 on 2K9. Like, just imagine what he was in high school. Seriously, just dominant. Football, man, that's a list right there.
That was fun.
Football, that was one of the greatest eras of West Bank high school sports ever, and I stand on that. We built such a dynasty with the players that were coming out of from middle school all the way to senior year graduation. Like, we had great players. Thaddeus Washington was like Lawrence Taylor for playing for Everett. Skylar Green was a cheat code for Higgins. I mean, you were playing tight end. We would go back and forth about what you did on the football field versus what I'm gonna do on the basketball court later. It was those are good times.
Darryl Johnson and bust that O. Perry Walker.
Oh man.
Yeah, Fave and Freeway at West Jeff. You had Carl Castile and Clifford at Shaw. It was,
Peanut and Thaddeus at Everett. That was a tandem that most people were scared of. And then shout out to B Savage. He was actually a great football player as well.
The first kicker.
Before it was educated N-word. It was it was Brandon Savage.
Brandon Savage.
He was a problem on the football field.
You wanted no problem with Savage. I was just so.
That was a big dude back then.
I was just so happy that Craig Morris was his first cousin. I was just so happy because Higgins and Eric didn't get along
And man,
on and off and I was just so happy. I remember that splash.
I'm literally writing a movie about that week. Remember how crazy school was that whole week for homecoming? Our junior year, when we played Eric for homecoming, that was like the West Bank Super Bowl.
Yes.
So many top players that were being heavily recruited all over the nation. I remember you used to come show me every letter you got from a coach. We would see, the scholarship offer letters in the window in the locker room. It was like, man, I was so proud to see my guys that I came up around that were actually becoming very successful. I was so happy when you went to school at Alcorn and Martin went with you. I was so happy about that. Seeing my guys actually succeed and knowing that these are the memories that have lasted a lifetime. I mean, I could give you a play-by-play of that game we played Eric in '02. Of everything that happened, all the key player moments, like I was Stephen A. Smith up here. I'm telling you, I remember Thaddeus cracked Chris Pugh so bad I thought he was dead.
Ooh.
Man, you remember that his helmet popped off? I was bruh. My heart, the whole crowd went. I mean, the whole stadium. Horst Mentor. I've never seen Horst Mentor Stadium so packed. Even to this day, I've never seen that stadium so packed.
All on the bridge. Like they had people on the Crescent City just stopping and watching that game.
We thought they had a traffic jam on the high rise when people were on the shoulder watching the game. It was that real out there.
The band was.
It was like a mix between the Super Bowl and the Bayou Classic out there. It was just crazy. And I remember every highlight play. Boy, Skylar Green was being Skylar Green. Like this option sweep. Better watch out. Don't let him get to the sideline. It's over with for you. Thaddeus Washington, he was just a terror. I was like, Donnie Harris was arguably one of the greatest running backs to ever come out of L.W. Higgins, man. Donnie Harris was speed and power put together. He was like a bowling ball that just you wasn't gonna tackle him by yourself. No, that wasn't happening. Mm-mm.
You know what I would love to see? I would love to see a Backer Ames versus Westminster All-Star.
Oh man, we've been
sports.
You know we've been trying to set that up since Field Day at Truman. We always tried to set that up. It just never came to fruition.
Because, like it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair to Westminster because it's one stuff. Now, granted, Westminster is a big subdivision. Mm-hmm. It's a big subdivision, and then y'all got a cheat code because y'all roll over into another. Y'all roll over to Lincolnshire, but y'all don't want to claim Lincolnshire. That just
Lincolnshire didn't claim us.
Y'all didn't claim Lincolnshire.
But that's because Lincolnshire athletes went to Ellender instead of Truman.
Yeah, but y'all cut it off at Runnymede.
Well, of course, that was the borderline. Runnymede and Rue Louis Philippe was the border.
But yes, CJ came.
Oh yeah,
rest CJ. But hey, man, that is crazy when you think about like the talent that was at Truman at one time. At one time, we had Thaddeus, Donnie, Carl, Benny, Craig, Bowleg.
I always say if Benny Bradley would have been 6 feet tall, he'd have been one of the best players in the country. Yeah, Benny Bradley was another one. Like we had super talent. I mean, I grew up across the street from Eddie Williams. Eddie Williams was one of the best athletes to ever come off the West Bank. I mean, he was one of the first athletes I knew that lived on the West Bank but went to school in New Orleans. Yeah. He went to De La Salle. Yeah. Ask anybody that was there. I watched Eddie Williams lock DJ Augustin in a high school game. I mean, locked him down. I thought DJ was, at the time, DJ Augustine was
untouchable.
He was untouchable, but when he came across Eddie Williams, it was like, oh yeah, you met your match. Eddie Williams was another one. If Eddie would have been 6'3", he'd have been the next Allen Iverson. He had it all, and he could play football, basketball. He could do anything. Just wasn't tall enough. Yep. Eddie was what, 5'7", 5'8"?
Man,
all heart though. I mean, Clifford Harris.
I give Eddie like a solid 5'7". Yeah, a solid 5'7". That's not. DJ is 6. Is like 6 foot even. Like he's short. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was Eddie, and then back then Clifford Harris. Clifford was a quarterback's quarterback, and watching him play, watching him throw passes our senior year, it was a sight to see, man. transitioning from private school to public school, he did it well because it worked well for us because we all grew up playing together anyway. If you played in the area on the West Bank at Park Ball, the same people you played against for Park will be the same people you played against in high school. And for those of us who played in different parks, like I was at Nicholson, you was at Pard, a lot of my team, Ryan and them was at Mac.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Johnny Jacobs.
Yeah.
No, that's Mac Park.
Man.
That's Mac Park.
Mac.
I said it. That's Mac Park.
Mac Kings Grant. Is
Kings
Kings
Grant
Grant still around?
I don't know. Is Kings Grant still around?
I don't know.
Estelle Playground is coming up though. Shout out to my homie D Nice, and oh man, Cheese is doing so well. He did so well with John Eric's basketball team.
Who would have thought at Truman Middle School when your nickname is Cheeseball?
Seriously.
Let me tell you something. Everett, man.
That's my doppelganger. That's my twin, man. Shout out to Cheese, man. For real. That's my dude.
That era just did something to us.
Yeah.
And I think, and I want to transition back into your acting thing. I think that type of chemistry, motivation, because the goal for us, anybody that just grew up with us, the goal was just get out of Marrero, because Marrero was turning into a place where Marrero was beefing with Marrero.
Yeah.
And Marrero is not that big you look at it on the scale of the map and all that stuff. And we just wanted to just get away. And once you got away, it didn't matter if you went to Everett, it didn't matter if you went to West Jeff, it didn't matter if you went. It don't matter where you went. It was like as long as you got away, we was happy for you.
You was from the West Bank, and you was representing. And at those years when we were in college, and a lot of the top players were going on to D1 and really doing their thing as far as, you at Alcorn, Martin at Alcorn, Skyler, he's at LSU, Marlon's at LSU,
Craig at Tulane.
Craig was at Tulane.
Freeway at Tulane. Buster at LSU.
Mm-hmm.
Darryl, who's probably the best football player I ever seen in my life.
With Darryl?
Darryl Johnson with the O'Perry Walker. He probably like the best football, but he just didn't have the grades. It was just
grades held a lot of great talent back,
and lack of exposure.
That too. I'm happy that the exposure level for athletes is getting to where it is now, because man, I'll stand on this 10 toes down. If we would have had the exposure that these kids have now, oh man. The mixtape videos we could have made just playing street ball where we were from. Oh, that's such and such. Oh, that's Derek Burdett. Oh man, that's a Deer Pines. Oh, that's Deshaun Jordan. Man, at 12 years old, I just knew Deshaun was going to be an NBA player. Like, you just knew it was going to happen. Yeah, I remember being in science class with Albert Weber and Deshaun Jordan. You could ask either one of them. They would be in there cracking jokes about what they were going to do at practice and what they were going to do in the game.
And they was going to do it.
He's like, man, I told Weber to throw it to me, Mike. I told him to pass it to me. I felt it in my fingers. Three. And he was serious. And his jump shot was that pure to where it was like, if he says he's gonna make it, he's gonna make it.
And I think what made Deshaun just so fascinating. He was the first real true left-hander.
Yeah,
we didn't that. He was like it was like a bow-legged chick walking by whoa, where that come from?
Mm-hmm.
Where that come
exotic.
from?
Everybody was right hand dominant. He was left hand dominant, and his handling skills were way more advanced than the rest of us. And he would cross you up with a smile on his face. I'll never get past that.
With the dingy and one headband. I'm never letting him let that down. He was too good to wear something to wear the dingy one.
Luck charm, man. He used to wear that headband in the class.
I was like, man, dude, wash that. Like it got the hard curl juice on it, man.
You know what's funny? When we were in Truman, he didn't even play on the basketball team. He played AAU and Biddy.
That's it.
He didn't even play on the school team.
He didn't even look at it.
He was the deciding factor why we didn't win parish championship 8th grade year, because we went undefeated that whole year.
but that LT was special. I can't even lie.
We beat them in regular season.
But
what that was 98.
Yeah, but then the trail just turned on.
He did.
He did. Yeah, but
he gave us the business in the championship.
Yeah, it was nothing we could do with him.
Yeah,
but for those who want to know because like it's a question like I always like wonder. I know in basketball, if you want to get better at basketball, you know get in the gym, shoot up, put up shots, and all this stuff.
Hmm.
Football's similar thing. Lift, get the weights going. Get drills and stuff. As far as acting, how do you get yourself better? And then for like, because if you're if you're just strictly a play like a stage play actor,
Hmm.
it's a different skill set you got to have. But you've also started transitioning to behind the scenes, like on some movie sets and stuff
Yeah.
too. So like, how do you get yourself better for both of those aspects? And also, what's the biggest difference in? All right, I'm preparing for raising the sun. I'm preparing for raising the sun. All right, boom. Now I'm preparing for emancipation.
Yeah.
Like,
All right.
what is the mindset in
The
that?
process. Oh, every a lot of actors have a lot of different creative processes. Um, the way I prepare for a role is that first thing I'm gonna do, just like when you get on a new team, you get the playbook. Your playbook is the script. That's your playbook. Read the whole script. Don't just read your lines as like for your role for your character because excuse me, it can get confusing. That's like somebody joining a team and they want to be Kobe the first day. You have to know this whole offense before you can run a triangle offense and run a team yourself. It don't work like that. As an actor, you prepare by first reading the script, and then you read the whole script and you read how everything transitions from scene to scene, and then also by reading the whole script, you know exactly how to react to someone else's words. And not everything is not, you don't just blow up and start screaming and howling every line, even if your character is one of those angry types. You have to have some type of transition from we like to call it a boil. If you have a scene where you about to flash out and you about to go off on everybody in the room, you don't just start off with that. You start off with what we call a slow boil. Like you're gonna have an attitude, but you're gonna talk low. Just like if somebody getting ribbed at the table or roasted at lunchtime table,
Hmm.
you're not gonna just flash out and start screaming and howling. He gonna wait till he get drove and in his feelings. Now he gonna start screaming and howling.
Right.
He gonna have an attitude at first. He gonna try to say something back, but if it don't work, now he gonna flash. Being preparing for a role as an actor and to get better at roles, what I like to do is just surround myself with people who are either in the position I want to be in or trying to be in the same position that I'm trying to be. Your network is your net worth when you're trying to get ahead in the entertainment industry. As far as you know, I may not know how to write a script, but I know my man's over here has experience doing script writing. So I'm gonna go ask him some questions. If I might say, hey, look, I'm writing a script. Can you give me some insight on what I need to do? Yeah, even as an actor, you might think you are killing this role as an actor, but it's not. But because it's not reading right, and whoever's watching you, they don't see what you see. But your feedback that you get from people that are on set or in your cast or the director, if you're doing a stage play or a film, your feedback from the director is going to guide you to where you want to be. And preparing and repetition with your lines and you know going over running the scene in your head even when you're not on set is important because it's like showing up to a professional basketball game and you didn't go to practice all week.
Right.
Not everybody's Allen Iverson. Rehearsal is vital. Just like going to practice as an athlete. You got to go to rehearsal. You, People think that you see these movies on your favorite streaming network and you think that these creatives are just showing up on day one without ever meeting each other and they just gonna shoot this great movie. No, most movies that you see, even mainstream movies, before they even begin shooting the first day with a camera, they may have a few months of rehearsals, going through each scene, going through each segment and of each transition. Like there's a big process to shooting a movie, and even as doing stage plays, before that premiere night, that cast may have been rehearsing for at the minimum of 6 weeks, a minimum, just to get everything right and knock out all the kinks, dot all the I's and cross all the T's. That it's a process, and you're not going to get the best performance out of somebody from just off the cuff performances. I mean, yeah, there are improv shows and things like that, but to really commit yourself as a actor is the same as committing yourself as an athlete. You have to put in the time and put in the work to get to the level that you want to be at. Like natural talent is one thing, but practice and you know training in your craft is what's going to get you to the next level or get you to the level that you want to be at. Even there's professional actors now that who have done many movies on film that will tell you, I wish I could get back on the stage because the experience and the process of doing stage work is different from what you see on camera on TV. Being a stage play actor is much more difficult because there's no cut. There's no, can we do that again? No, it has to be right, or it's going to throw the entire show off. Mm-hmm. And not just, one scene. It'll mess up the entire show, especially, it can be something as simple as, for example, say I'm holding a tissue, and I'm supposed to put it down on a table. I'm talking about on stage. And I'm supposed to put the tissue down on the table, but let's say it falls on the floor. From the moment that piece of tissue falls on the floor, nothing else in the play matters. You know why? Because everybody in the audience is looking at why didn't he pick the tissue up?
Right.
If you don't do that, it's going to throw everything out. Nobody's going to be paying attention to what you're saying. Everybody's going to be focused on that piece of tissue. And I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen in stage plays. Someone drops a piece of a clothing item, and the entire scene then changed. But that piece of clothing is still on the floor, and people are wondering why didn't they pick that up?
Right. Because it didn't draw my attention somewhere else.
Exactly, and that matters greatly on a stage play because this ain't a record. This is live, and they see you dropped it. Are you gonna pick it up? There are ways and techniques that artists and actors, we can play it off, as you say, and pick it up casually, where it'll make the show continue to roll. But that's still vital, and that's still just the way you have to move on a stage versus a camera is totally different. I put it to you like a video game. When you on a film, it's like being in an open world or GTA. It's like the camera can be anywhere. Mm-hmm. But when you're on a stage, the audience is facing you.
Right.
So you can't just turn around and have your back to the audience. That's a no-no. Like there's certain ways you move, and just like you're not supposed to travel or double dribble in basketball, or you're not supposed to go off sides. You turn your back to the audience. That's a flag on the play. What they looking at your back for? Is that a part of the show? No. Everybody in the audience needs to be able to see you at all times.
Now, if it's making good, you don't mind looking at the back.
Oh my God! Oh, don't get me started, man. NLE Chopper just shot his shot with her, and I'm kind of jealous, but I think I'm more closer in age to her than he is. So
yeah, you know what I'm saying? We got a better chance. Now, one of the heroes of acting, especially like for our generation that we watched grow up, was Will Smith.
Yes,
and
I had the pleasure of meeting homie. He's
and that's what I want to talk, because you caught, like, you were somebody who got to see Will Smith at the highs of his highs. Mm-hmm. Then the whole world seen him at his low, with the Chris Rock, and then he went away for a little bit, and then boom, he started filming Emancipation, and you came in right.
Yeah.
Like how was that, and what was those like those conversations like with him, to where like you could pick, man, look, you went from Parents Don't Understand to Fresh Prince of Bel-Air to
there were a lot of those conversations
to this, then you and people forget all about this, because this just happened just now. They judge you by this, and now you gotta slowly, you lost roles and all this stuff, and now you slowly picking yourself back up.
It's one thing I could truly say about Will is that, and anybody that worked on the Emancipation set, they can attest to this. The same person you see, the same Will you see on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, that's him in real life. Like, real laid back, real cool. He reminds me of me when we was in high school. Seriously, up and down, jokester. He's real cool, down to earth. Even though we're in the middle of shooting Emancipation, he's going through all this turmoil with his personal life. he didn't bring it to set, and obviously because of his popularity and his fame, all of us as background actors and other actors who are on set with him know what's going on. But you're not gonna be disrespectful and ask this man about what he got going on in his personal life. You're gonna keep it professional, and he did the same thing in return. And one thing I admire about him was that no matter what you went to ask him, he'd have a straight answer for you, a real answer, whether it was a question about the acting game or the music game. I watched a lot of guys walk up to him and just have a casual conversation about getting ahead in the music industry or just in the entertainment industry itself. And he dropped a lot of gems. People don't understand how long Will has been doing this, man.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, like I had to tell him myself. It's like, man, I remember I became a sneakerhead because of you and Martin Lawrence, watching the Fresh Prince and Martin, whether the newest J's or the newest Nikes that came out. Like this, they were trendsetters to us, and it was such a breath of fresh air to know that even though this guy has been an icon to us in our generation for so many years, he's still very down to earth, very humble, very cool, very approachable. And one thing about entertainers that people have to understand is that they are people too.
Mhm.
They go through things just like you go through things, and people like to scale up their issues as celebrities because they're celebrities. But in reality, I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all have a partner who going through the same thing we're going through, or maybe worse. But you're not gonna speak on that because he's not. They're not as famous as Will.
Oh, he's not, because if there's no drawback, I could talk about Will, because the chance of Will Smith finding me or looking at me is slim enough.
Right.
If I talk about it, my partner, I
gotta-
literally have to deal with that.
You got to stand on that when you address that. And,
Yeah.
and people ask me because I guess because they knew that I was on set with Will. Man, Mike, Will really cut like that. I'm like, first of all, the dude disrespected his wife in front of him. I don't know many men that would accept that in the first place. But in the setting and way the situation panned out, I really wish that it would have happened differently. But know this: just because we are actors, don't mean we don't have hands. Will is from around the way, just like Denzel said he was from around the way, just like we from around the way. It's true that you should act professionally, especially on the stage that they were on, being the Oscars and whatnot. Yeah, but I'll say this before anybody: the way that situation panned out, a conversation was had before the camera started rolling. A conversation was had before the camera started rolling and they started recording that show. It just seemed like a conversation was had between Will and Chris. Hey, look, don't play with me tonight.
And then it just rolled over.
Yeah, like it rolled over because it seemed like, okay, you want to try me anyway? Now I'm about to embarrass you.
Now I'm gonna try you.
Now I'm gonna try you. Now what? Because the way he walked off so casual, like it wasn't like I'm poking my chest out like I'm a bully. No, this was a man who obviously looks like he stood 10 toes down on how he felt about being the butt of jokes that night, and let it be known, like, look, I'm not for that tonight. And people don't understand. You have to understand what's not being said. Just like when you watch a stage play live, you don't just listen to the lines. You listen to what's not being said. Chris told Will, said, "Man, it's a G.I. Jane joke. Keep my wife's name out your mouth. Keep my wife's name out your mouth." It was a G.I. Jane joke. You know what I read through that? The writers made me tell this joke. I didn't want to tell this joke. That's why he kept saying, "Oh man, it's just like this G.I. Jane joke." I guarantee you that script had or the prompter had a much worse joke than that. And I feel like Chris Rock tried to divert that and still get the job done. Because make no mistake, just like Will is there, Chris Rock is paid to be there, and he has a job to do as the host of this show. And he is not the writer of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I blamed the writers and whoever was in charge of that prompter, or whoever told Chris Rock, "You got to tell a joke about her." No. Now, if Chris Rock decided to tell that joke on his own, then hey, you get it how you live, bro. But because Chris and Will have been friends for decades, I feel like that could have went a lot worse, but it also I felt like you tried me anyway. You're supposed to be my dog, and not only that, what I respect as black men as well as actors who came to his aid when he started spiraling. You just pretty much embarrassed yourself on international television. But when they went to commercial, you watched Tyler Perry, Denzel Washington, and what people don't know, a lot of people don't know, Sam Jackson as well.
Hmm.
Tyler's reaction and Denzel's reaction were solid. I mean, as solid as they can be, as men who are coming together as brothers. Like, look, we're not gonna let you mess up your big moment. Like, we got you, got your back. But also, I had to laugh at Sam Jackson's response because even though Will's been having a meltdown, Sam Jackson walks over to Will, daps him off like, yeah, you did that. You did that.
Slap that motherfucker.
Like, yeah, you slapped that motherfucker. Like, and that's what made me think, you know what? A conversation was had in that green room about what was gonna happen on stage, and I guess he figured, you know what, I'm gonna try him anyway. And Sam Jackson said, no, you should have slapped that nigga. Should have did it again.
Yeah.
That's what
He told your ass.
Yeah, he told you don't do that shit. He told you don't do it. He told you don't do it, but you did it anyway. So now you got to get it how you live. Now, a lot of people won't agree with me, but I actually enjoyed Chris Rock's stand-up special, this recent one. It wasn't his best one, but it was still funny.
He not funny to me.
It's
He what DL Hughley was.
okay. Yeah, okay. I can
He's
see that.
I get why he's to me he's that token funny. Like
It's that political comedy.
yeah,
Political comedy.
and I'm not saying it just doesn't put the sugar in my tea. You know what I'm saying?
I feel that.
That's just like you putting equal in my tea. Like, yeah, I understand the sugar. I understand the sugar, but it ain't the sweetness that I want. It's just, you know what I'm saying? I want the real sweetness. And that's just
I feel that. And I can see that in his work, but I feel like his humor is more directed towards writing shows now instead of being on stage.
yeah.
And on top of that, I'll say this: like, he had some valid points that a lot of us were as young black men were raised around growing up. One of his final lines in the show, he said, I was raised right. My parents raised me, and one of the things that my mother taught me was that you don't fight in front of white people. Even though he said it like a joke, that's real. And you knew it was real because of the way that the audience reacted when he said it. Because I remember, being a young black kid, especially when we were, right after Katrina, we were all trying to get jobs and, have some money in our pocket.
And your mama didn't play.
What? Hey, your daddy was military, so I knew he didn't play no games. So I was like, we were always taught not to conduct ourselves in an ignorant manner, not just in front of white people, but in a general public setting in the first place. And I was always trained that you don't act out of character in a professional setting. Like, even though this is the Oscars and it's supposed to be a celebration, it's an award show. This ain't MTV. It's not the MTV Movie Awards, so where they gonna let that type of stuff
This
slide.
ain't the Hip Hop Awards.
No, this ain't the Source Awards. You can't do that around here. You can't do stuff like that and think that it's gonna be cool after. Somebody's gonna say something that's in production. Somebody's gonna be upset, and even though it probably caused the greatest ratings hike in Oscars history, it still was a bad mark on not just Will, but also Chris and everybody around us, because now you're giving people a reason to say, "Oh, you can't take black people nowhere." No, it's not like that. It's just that when black people go to fighting, get nervous. Anybody else go to fighting, okay, it's funny, it's cool. But when we go to fighting, other people get nervous, and it's just, I guess it's the law of the jungle. I don't know what it is, but at that time, it was like, no, bro, not you, Will. And then that's your homeboy. That's your partner. That's not just some dude randomly that they got to host. That's your partner you've been knowing for years. That's why I felt like, they had a conversation about that before that camera started rolling, man.
Now, we about to get ready to wrap up the show, and I just always like to ask somebody to leave something for the young generation. If you had a 15-second advice clip to give to that next young black actor coming out of Marrero, coming out of just coming out the West Bank, trying to make it, what would be that a powerful 15-second message that you would give to them to keep keep moving?
I'm gonna kick it old school like a unk at the barbershop. Look at young blood. Take them acting classes. Recite those movie lines. Do better. Don't just do it in the mirror. Don't just do it for TikTok. Apply yourself. Being skilled at this craft is just as daunting as being the best basketball player or football player. This is a craft. This is a skill. Don't ever be afraid to look stupid. Don't be afraid to take a risk and jump off that ledge and go for what you want. Not all of us want to be, not all of us want to be professional athletes. We can be actors too, and we are very good at it. Do your research. We've been doing this.
And the last thing we gotta do that we always do with every one of our guests, your top 5 favorites. Here we go.
All right, top
Mike
five.
Mike Forrest, top 5 favorites.
Movies.
No. I'm gonna name the 5 things.
All right.
You gotta give me your favorite.
All right.
Favorite NBA team of all time.
I'm all time. I'm gonna stand 10 toes down on this because we didn't always have a basketball team down here. New York Knicks. It's the Pelicans now. It's the Pelicans now. But before the Hornets even came here, I was a huge New York Knicks fan.
Favorite NBA player of all time.
Vince Carter.
Yeah, I was hoping
Vincent
you was
Carter.
gonna lie. I was hoping
Vincent,
you was gonna lie.
I knew you wasn't gonna let me.
You was gonna lie. I was gonna.
Vince
I was
Carter.
gonna tear that ass up. Favorite. Because it's gonna hurt my heart. Favorite NCAA basketball team of all time.
The University of North Carolina.
He meant to say Duke.
Tar Heels. Oh, don't you dare.
Hey, when I tell you we were childhood best friends, but that was the one thing we wouldn't agree.
Never agreed on it at all. Never agreed on it. It's UNC all day. Jay Howard gonna see this. Jay Howard, UNC all day. I'm telling you.
Favorite shoe of all time.
Oh, that's hard, that man. Favorite shoe of all time. Most people will say Jordan 11s, Concords, the pad leathers. Me, Nike foam posits. Original, the Penny Hardaways, the blue foam posits. I thought those were the business, man. I had a real issue with buying every color I could find for a long time. I love foam posits. They're comfortable. They're light. I wish I had and you know what put me on foam posits? We had a pair of foams for team shoes.
Yep.
Junior year.
We sure did.
And once I put my foot in the foam posits, it was like, okay, Jordan just for flexing. Foam posits is for balling. That's for ballers. That's for real ballers.
And the last question. This is where our producer Mike loves to just sit there and just stare at people to death because he wants to sway them they way, and I need him to come back to the light. Favorite rapper of all time.
Wayne. But you know what? My favorite.
Don't lose me, Mike.
I am a huge Wayne is the GOAT to me. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
Wayne is the GOAT to me. He'll always be the GOAT. But I am also a huge Currency fan. I'm a huge Spitter fan.
Who we say?
What you thought I was gonna say?
If you would have said somebody from New York that wasn't named Biggie, that wasn't named Nas, or wasn't named DMX, we was gonna have a problem.
What about Rakim, though, man?
I take that too, as long as you didn't say the other motherfucker that stole my dog shit. That's all. You know what I'm saying?
Man, and that's another thing. I'm gonna have to come back another day on that one. But music today versus music when we was in school, man. I don't hate on nobody's craft and the music you making. But I'm not gonna say no names, but a lot of rappers wouldn't have made it out the back porch of Higgins. I'm letting you know right now, they wouldn't have made it. They wouldn't have made it.
They wouldn't have made it off of 4th Street, boy.
Seriously, like we came. People don't understand that. Higgins in our era was like the black version of Grease. We had multi-talented students, and I mean, we had musicians, we had athletes, artists, singers, rappers, dancers. people who were
dancers and rappers.
Yeah, like
That's a turn rapper, man.
seriously, like we had the back porch was like a day party when we were in school, man.
Yeah.
It was like going to our first club experiences wasn't at some nice
Rockefeller,
spot. So
like
Rockefeller, no, our first club experience was the back porch at Higgins at lunchtime. That was where you earned your stripes. Like you go on the back porch to have a good time.
Some people didn't get the full experience of the back porch. You know what I'm saying? Some but and Pettigrew used to hold it down. I remember, hey,
that was security.
Full disclosure, I remember when Pettigrew got on the trash can and ran the beat, boy. Best day ever. Best day ever. And I ain't gonna say what we call her, but Miss Segura came back there. It was
run up out of here, man. Come on now. You run up. She threatened to expel me on almost a weekly basis because she defined it as starting a riot on the back porch. When in reality, I was your host with the most. I was your host with the most.
And look, that's the show, baby.
Oh, that's the show, baby. That's the show, man. Thank y'all. Mike Forrest, actor, writer, director, with my mans. Coach Hank, that's BigHenry in my eyes. That's always gonna be BigHenry. I'm telling you. Thank you for having me, bro.
Man, look, proud of you, man. Wishing you nothing but the best. You know, we always here to support you, man.
All love, baby.
You know, hey, FanView Podcast, baby. Another episode down the drain.
Thank you.